Hey everyone, Crantz here with FrightVision. Hope everyone's staying safe and is healthy out there. I know these are crazy times, so I'm just gonna work on some FrightVision stuff, and I figured while I was at it, I would start reading some of the books. So I hope you enjoy Chapter 1 of Book 1 in the FrightVision series, The Cursed Coin. This is where FrightVision begins. Take a listen, check out Chapter 1. If you want to keep reading sooner, you can find it on Amazon. But for now, I'm just going to keep reading. So we'll see how it goes. All right. Enjoy. Happy nightmares. Dearest visitor, welcome. What you're about to experience isn't real, but it could be. Who's to say? You'll see and imagine things that you might enjoy or that could cause you fright. Don't panic. It's worse if you do. Perhaps these are all just nightmares anyway, but only time will tell. Sweetest dreams. Crantz. Chapter 1. Come on, Shelly, hurry up, I yelled to my younger sister, who was dragging behind on our walk around the neighborhood. Darkness was taking over the summer evening sky. Wait a sec, I found something cool. Shelly bent down, her dark jeans touching the warm pavement. She had a brown stain on her left knee. It looked like she'd stuck her leg in a muddy swamp, but Shelly didn't care. She was never afraid to get dirty. My 10-year-old sister looked like a mouse, but acted like a bear. She was short and skinny. Both of her legs together were the width of one of mine. She also had long blonde hair and blue eyes, much different than my short dark hair and brown eyes. I was 2 years older than her, and a little husky, bear-like, but I hardly acted like one. Check this out, RJ, she called to me. My eyes rolled as she examined something shiny on the ground. Every time we went anywhere, Shelly tried to bring something home with her. The scarier, the better. Like the pet spider we had for 2 weeks, the snapping turtle that nearly bit my finger off, or the rock that looked like a skull. I hated scary things, which was why I was always skeptical about seeing whatever she found. I reached for the yellow bucket hat that was draped around my neck. It had been my dad's. The black cord attached to it allowed me to let it hang from my neck when I didn't want it on my head. I pulled the cap to my head and tugged down on the brim so that my eyes were covered. RJ, lift up your hat and come look at this, Shelly said. There's nothing to be scared of. Nervously, I turned my head, doing my best to pretend I couldn't hear her. Too bad it didn't stop her from continuing to yell my name. You know I hate this spot. One of these times you're going to get us in trouble over here. My body tensed up. A rush of panic and fear attacked my chest. I knew it was silly. We were in our neighborhood, but I couldn't stop my reactions. Oh, come on. Relax a little, would you? Shelly remained crouched over her find. I didn't need to see what it was. I was already on edge as we were approaching the 2 leafless trees of the cul-de-sac at the end of our block. This was where we were supposed to turn back. Not far behind those trees was an old, eerie, castle-like house, number 13, and behind it, the lake that changed my life forever. Chills swarmed my body. The house stood vacant. Moss and scraggly vines crawled across the foundation, which looked like it might fall over at any moment. But at one time the house must have been amazing. It was massive, more than 3 times the size of any of the other houses in the neighborhood, and it looked like a castle. A locked rusted gate hid the driveway entrance. When the wind blew, it creaked like an old teeter-totter, knocking against the no trespassing sign. The fence connected to the gate was only a few feet high and missing pieces, as parts had collapsed over the years. Shards of glass, water bottles, empty candy wrappers, and plastic bags littered the yard, releasing a nasty odor. Given how bad it smelled, I wouldn't be surprised to find something dead in the tall grass. Behind the house was a steep slope that led to a cliff towering over a large lake, which I could barely see. The view from the backyard of the castle's house must be incredible, but because of what happened to my dad, I never wanted to go near that lake. It seemed that everything that disappeared into that water never came back. The hairs on the back of my neck shot to life as we neared the old house. I paced back and forth, waiting for my sister to figure out if she should keep whatever she had found. I hated when she got sidetracked on our walks. Each time we made it all the way to the cul-de-sac, I wondered if Shelly would run onto the lawn of the abandoned house and dare me to join her. That was one of my many fears. Add that to heights, spiders, snakes, weird noises, dying, ghosts, and so on. I couldn't help it. I didn't know how not to be afraid of those things. My dad never had the opportunity to show me how to be brave like him. He wasn't scared of anything. Still, hopefully one of these days I'll be more normal. At least that's what Ed says. Ed is Mom's new boyfriend. If you ask me, he's a little off. Sure, he's smart and kind of nerdy like me. Being a scientist and all, he has to be. But he cares way too much about how scared I am. Why won't he let me be? It seems he either wants me to not be afraid of anything or find out what I'm scared of and torture me. It's so irritating. "Check this out," Shelly called again. "Flying fish sticks." Reluctantly, I walked toward her, knowing that this was the only way I was going to get her to go home. I didn't like being out late at night, wandering around. I leaned down and saw the normal-looking coin that Shelly was examining. Loose change wasn't anything special to me. We could go home and find that in the couch, but I pretended to be excited. "Wow, great. Can we go now?" "Relax, RJ. What are you so worried about?" she asked. Shelly was staring at me. I could feel it. She waited for a response, but I didn't say anything and avoided eye contact with her. My head involuntarily turned back to look at the castle. "Oh, come on. You're not really afraid of that place, are you? There's nothing there. No one. What's so scary?" No one had seen anyone living at that castle for years, but every time we got close to it, chills raced up my spine, and I felt eyes watching my every move. I tried to distract myself and think about anything else. My video games, the nice happy books I like to read, the lemonade stand that we had to go home and get ready for. That was it. I could think about that. Our lemonade stand was another reason to turn back. Mom was probably waiting for us to go to the store to get the mix. It had been 4 years since we all built the first stand, when Dad was still here. Anyway, we had the system down. Each year, our goal, well, mine, was to make more money than the previous year. Shelly's was to gulp down more of the toxic yellow mix she called a magical potion. I loved the lemonade stand. Selling stuff to people was so fun. I felt like a grown-up instead of just a scared kid. It was getting darker. Then, out of nowhere, crickets started to chirp, and an owl hooted. My stomach clenched. I had to get out of here right away. "Come on," I yelled to Shelly, but she was still examining her new coin. All right, I'm coming," she snapped. Finally, I thought. I would have left her here, but Mom would kill me if I came home without her. We turned and walked back toward our house. Shelly stuck the coin into her pocket and patted down the front of her jeans to make sure it was secure. As we walked, footsteps echoed our own, or at least I thought they did. My throat started to dry up. I looked behind us. Nothing there. But it was very dark now. I couldn't shake the feeling of being followed. I picked up the pace. At least we were on our way home. Nothing else could go wrong. While we walked, Shelly was quiet. Typically, she was talking my ear off about whatever new artifact she was bringing to the house. Eventually, we were going to be able to have a museum of weird, scary stuff. She was holding her hand firmly against her pocket, as if someone was about to run up and steal the coin from her jeans. "You really got a hold on that coin," I teased her. I laughed, even though it wasn't my best joke. Expecting a response, I stared at her, real close. But she never said anything. Not a thing, though her face looked a little red. Maybe it was sunburn. It was summer, after all. Shelly lost her footing. Must have been a rock or something in her path. But that was also odd, because normally I was the clumsy one. She tried to regain her balance, but looked like she was walking along a tightrope in the circus. Her arms were straight out as her body swayed. Before I could reach out and steady her, Shelly collapsed to the ground. At first I thought she had just tripped, and this was nothing. But she didn't get back up. Instead, she wiggled around on the ground like Jell-O would. "The coin! My leg!" Shelly clawed at her thigh like an animal caught in a trap. She panted as she spoke, unable to put together full sentences. My mouth dropped open. I felt dizzy. "What's wrong?" I screamed frantically. "Are you okay? Shell." My mind jammed up like a shredder with too much paper in it. It was in overload. What am I supposed to do? I bent down to help her up, but I couldn't pull her to her feet. Her legs weren't working. The coin. Why did she pick up that stupid coin? I ripped her hand away from her pocket, freeing a path to the coin so that I could grab it and get it out of her jeans. That was all I could think of. If that didn't work, I was clueless. My hand reached into her pocket. I pulled the coin out. My eyes scoured the area, looking for a place to trash it. I wanted as far away from us as possible. A creepy, crackling whisper blew through the wind. The lake. Throw it in the lake. My body shuddered as I glanced toward the castle, trying to see beyond it to the water. Where was that voice coming from? One more time, the voice tickled my ear hair. Throw it in the lake. The lake. Nothing would happen to us if I threw it in the lake. But it's the lake. Would I even be able to get it there? Stop thinking. It was for Shelly. I had no choice. No, I can't. No way. RJ, the lake. The whisper said my name. I was spooked. I spun around looking for anyone who could have said it, but there was nothing. The coin started to turn bright green in my palm, appearing electrically charged, as if it was activating. I couldn't debate this any longer. I had to act. I raced past the median toward the castle grounds and the gate. I reeled my arm back and released the coin, heaving my entire weight into the throw. Creak! The rusted fence nearly toppled as I crashed into it. I steadied myself so that I didn't fall onto the property while the coin raced through the sky like an airplane. But before it had any chance of making it to the lake, it lost speed. Crash landing. The coin fell way short of the lake, landing instead in the tall, wild grass. It was still a good throw, though, further than I thought it would have gone. And at least the coin was out of our hands. I rushed back to Shelly, who lay stiff on the ground. No! Sweat fell from my forehead. My hand shook as I reached out to check her pulse. Be okay. Please, don't die on me. I wasn't sure how to help her. How could a coin do this? Suddenly, Shelly's eyes opened, and she jumped up. Gotcha! She dusted herself off like nothing had happened. My heart had to be beating 10,000 times a second. My hat flew off my head. The only thing saving it from being lost forever was the hat's black string wrapped around my neck. I nearly fainted. I hated my sister when she did things like this to me. Being scared was the worst. It felt like my skin was on fire. I was so mad that I didn't say a word. I wanted to yell and scream, but Shelly was never going to change. Oh, come on, be a good sport, she egged me on while we continued walking home. You cost me a nice piece for my collection, and you couldn't even make it into the lake. Yes, I could, I yelled, but I was worried about you. I just didn't get a good enough running start. Like that would have mattered. I bet I could throw as far as the lake, she teased, then reached down and grabbed a rock from the dirt. Watch. Shelli ran toward the castle grounds. No, let's go home, I screamed, but this didn't stop Shelly from sprinting away. I watched helplessly as she ran to the gate. She didn't look like she was going to stop. Oh no, this was going to be the day that she stepped inside the gates. No, Shell, I yelled, hoping that she wasn't actually going to do it. She didn't stop. Her small, skinny frame slid underneath one of the loose parts of the fence, and she ran through the weeds, past where I threw the coin. What was she thinking? She was much closer to the lake than I had been, but still too far away for throwing the rock into the lake. She pulled her arm back, ready to throw, but suddenly bright lights flooded the area. Shelly stopped abruptly and turned. Her face went pale, her hand opened, and the rock fell to the ground. Ah! We were caught! I didn't want to find out by whom. Run! I yelled. She dashed toward me but slowed down as she passed the spot where the coin had landed. I wasn't waiting. I was gone, running as fast as I could. She caught up to me really fast, like she had supersonic speed. We were moving so fast we might have broken an Olympic record. It felt like the lights were tracking us, but how? I couldn't look back. Fear had cemented my neck facing forward. That was why I never wanted to go onto the property. Someone or something could be there. Who knew? What if whatever was there saw us? What if it was waiting for us to come back? My natural survival instincts kicked in and helped keep me from thinking about how exhausting this run was. Our path was illuminated by the lights that came from directly behind us. We had to get somewhere safe fast. My lungs were burning as my legs slowed down. I couldn't run much farther. If something was chasing me, I was as good as caught. Shelly slowed down and looked back toward the castle. A big smile spread across her face, and she laughed. "Are you crazy?" I yelled, gasping for air as I passed by her in a slow jog. "What's wrong with you?" "Look," she pointed while laughter escaped her tiny mouth. But I couldn't. I couldn't turn back. A black SUV with tinted windows drove by with its headlights cutting through the night. "It was a car." Shelly bent over, her belly laugh. She was so scared. "You were so scared. What did you think was going to happen? Some ghost was going to come out and grab us?" Shelly's piercing laugh taunted me like the buzzing mosquitoes trying to eat my flesh. I swatted at them much like I'd dismissed Shelly's cackle. I'd had enough. Walks with Shelly were too emotional sometimes. The vehicle slowly drove past. Were they looking at us? Through the dark windows? Whoever was driving hit the gas pedal and sped off, exiting the neighborhood. I finally stopped and glanced back. The castle was out of view and dark. The lights had definitely come from the SUV. But where was it coming from? The castle? I walked faster, wiping the sweat from my forehead as I made it to the light of our front door. That's where I waited for Shelly. If anything else happened, it would be easy to run inside. She was across the lawn, still grabbing her stomach, laughing so hard. It was like a pull-string doll's laugh, loud and obnoxious. Finally, she crossed the grass, stepped onto the doormat, and walked inside the house. I looked one last time toward the castle. The neighborhood was completely dark, but I could see something. Red dots in the distance that appeared to be moving closer to the house. What were they? Wait a second. Were those eyes?